The morning sun shone brightly over the small town of Greenfield, and the streets were slowly filling with people going about their daily routines. In the heart of the town, the Sunrise Cafe was already busy. The smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the air. Inside, Maria, a young waitress, moved quickly between the tables, carrying trays of steaming tea and plates of sandwiches. She had been working at the cafe for 3 years, and she knew the routine well. She greeted every customer with a smile and tried to make everyone feel comfortable. Maria's life was not easy. She lived in a small apartment with her younger brother, Daniel. Her parents had passed away years ago, and she had learned to take care of herself and her brother. Despite the hardships, Maria remained cheerful and optimistic. On this particular morning, the cafe door swung open with a loud jingle. A group of young men entered, laughing and talking loudly. Among them was Ryan, a rich boy known in the town for his wealth and arrogance. He was tall, dressed in a brand-new suit, and wore a shiny watch that reflected the sunlight. Ryan had grown up with everything he wanted. His family owned several businesses, and he had never known what it meant to struggle. Ryan walked toward the counter, his friend Tom following closely behind. The two of them had chosen the cafe as their spot to hang out because Ryan liked to show off his money in public. Maria noticed Ryan and smiled politely. She approached him with her notepad ready to take his order. Ryan glanced at her, his expression twisting into a smirk. "Are you the girl who works here?" he asked loudly, making sure everyone around could hear him. "I hope you don't mess up my order like the last time. You look like someone who makes mistakes." Maria felt a sharp sting in her heart. She took a deep breath and held her smile firmly. "I will make sure your order is perfect," she said calmly, trying to ignore the embarrassment. Ryan laughed and leaned on the counter. "Perfect. That's a funny word coming from someone like you. Don't even try to mess this up. I hate waiting." He waved his hand in the air and called Tom over to whisper something. They both laughed in a way that made Maria feel small and unnoticed. A few customers turned their heads, some frowning at the way Ryan was behaving. Maria could feel her cheeks heating up, but she focused on writing his order down carefully. She moved to the kitchen to give the instructions to the chef, trying to forget the humiliation. While she worked, she overheard Ryan speaking loudly to his friend. "Imagine having to serve people like this every day. I would quit the first week if I were her." His voice echoed across the cafe, making Maria's heart ache. Just then, the cafe door opened again. A tall man with long dark hair and a leather jacket entered. His presence was noticeable immediately. He carried a motorcycle helmet under one arm, and the tattoo on his forearm peeked out from under his sleeve. Everyone in the cafe knew him as Alex, a member of the local Hells Angels Club. Despite his tough appearance, Alex was respected in the town because he stood up for people who were treated unfairly. He had a strong sense of justice and did not tolerate cruelty. Alex looked around and saw the scene at the counter. Ryan was laughing, Maria was standing quietly, trying to keep her composure, and the cafe felt tense. Alex's eyes narrowed. He walked calmly but with purpose toward the counter. Each step he took made people turn to watch, sensing that something important was about to happen. Ryan noticed Alex and waved dismissively. "Who is this? Another person trying to tell me how to live my life," he said arrogantly. Alex stopped in front of the counter, his eyes fixed on Ryan. "I saw what you just said to her," he said calmly. "Do you think it is okay to humiliate someone in public?" Ryan laughed, trying to sound fearless. "And what if I did? She is just a waitress. She should know her place." Alex's gaze did not waver. He leaned slightly closer and said in a firm voice, "Everyone deserves respect. No one should be made to feel small. You can leave if you cannot act with manners." The cafe fell silent. Even Ryan's friends were watching, unsure of what Alex might do. Maria, still holding her notepad, felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. She had never met Alex before personally, but she had heard stories of how he stood up for people who were treated unfairly. Ryan tried to recover his arrogance. "And what are you going to do about it? You think you can scare me?" he asked. Alex did not raise his voice. He only looked at Ryan with calm intensity. "I am not here to scare you. I am here to make sure you understand that people deserve respect. Words can hurt just as much as actions. If you cannot apologize, I suggest you leave before this becomes more uncomfortable for you." Ryan hesitated. He was used to getting his way with money and influence. He did not like being challenged, especially in public. He glanced at the other customers, many of whom were now staring at him with disapproval. Ryan realized that for the first time, his wealth and attitude could not protect him from the judgment of others. Maria felt a sense of courage growing inside her. Alex's calm and strong presence reminded her that she did not deserve the humiliation she had faced. She straightened her shoulders and said softly, "It is okay. You do not need to be cruel to people. Everyone works hard in their own way." Ryan looked at her and then at Alex. His smirk faded slightly. He muttered something under his breath and finally said, "Fine. Bring me my coffee and sandwich. I will pay extra if it is done quickly." Alex nodded once and stepped back, signaling Maria to continue with her work. Maria took a deep breath and returned to the kitchen, where the chef was waiting. She placed the order carefully, making sure everything was perfect. Her hands shook slightly, but she felt proud of herself for not letting the humiliation take control of her day. The other customers whispered to each other about the scene they had witnessed. Some expressed admiration for Maria's patience and courage. Others nodded at Alex's intervention, appreciating how he had calmly defended someone without creating chaos. As Maria carried the tray to Ryan's table, she felt her heart steady. She set the plate down and said politely, "Here is your order, sir. I hope you enjoy it." Ryan looked at the food, unsure how to respond. For a moment, he realized that money could not buy respect, and he felt a small sense of shame for his behavior. Alex stayed near the door, watching silently. His presence was reassuring to Maria and to the other customers. He knew that sometimes people needed someone to remind them of basic kindness and respect. Today, he had done that without raising his voice or using threats. Maria returned to the counter, feeling stronger than before. She knew that life would not always be easy, but moments like this gave her hope. She smiled at a regular customer, who returned the smile warmly. The cafe returned to its usual rhythm, filled with laughter, conversation, and the smell of coffee and bread. Ryan finished his meal quietly. He did not speak much after that, and when he left, he did so without causing any further trouble. Maria watched him leave, feeling a mixture of relief and satisfaction. She had faced humiliation, but she had not let it break her spirit. Alex walked out of the cafe, putting on his helmet. He mounted his motorcycle and started the engine. The sound was loud, but it felt like a promise to the town that fairness and respect would always matter. Maria waved briefly at him before returning to her work. She felt a quiet gratitude, knowing that sometimes, courage came in many forms, whether through kind words or the presence of someone who would stand up for what was right. The morning continued, and the cafe was alive with people enjoying their day. Maria moved from table to table, serving coffee and smiles. She knew that no matter what challenges came her way, she had the strength to face them, and she carried that strength quietly in her heart. The next morning, Maria woke up early, as usual. She prepared breakfast for her younger brother, Daniel, who was already waiting at the small kitchen table. The apartment was modest but cozy, filled with the warmth of their daily routines. Maria knew that she had a busy day ahead at Sunrise Cafe, and she wanted to start it with a clear mind. She reminded herself of yesterday's events. Ryan's arrogance had been hard to bear, but the calm presence of Alex, the Hell's Angel, had made a lasting impression. As she walked to the cafe, Maria noticed people on the streets talking quietly. Some gave her small nods or smiles, showing that they had noticed her courage the day before. Maria felt a little proud, but tried to stay focused on her work. The cafe was already busy when she arrived. She greeted the morning staff and quickly began preparing for the rush. The smell of fresh pastries and coffee filled the air, and Maria moved efficiently between tables. Customers were chatting happily, and the sound of laughter made the cafe feel alive. Suddenly, the door opened, and Maria froze for a moment. Ryan was back. He was wearing a new designer suit and carrying himself with the same arrogance as before. Tom, his friend, followed behind him, laughing loudly. Maria's heart sank, but she reminded herself that she had faced him before and handled the situation calmly. Ryan scanned the cafe and saw Maria serving other customers. He smirked and walked toward her, calling her name in a loud voice. "Hey, girl, I am back. Don't tell me you forgot me already." Maria kept her composure and replied politely, "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Ryan laughed, clearly enjoying the attention. "I want the best coffee and the largest sandwich you have. Make sure it is perfect this time. I do not want any mistakes." Maria nodded and turned to place the order with the chef. She felt a quiet strength inside her. She had learned that the best way to deal with people like Ryan was to stay calm and professional. She would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her upset. While Maria worked, she noticed something unusual. Ryan's laughter and teasing were louder than before, and he seemed determined to make her feel uncomfortable. A few customers looked uneasy, shifting in their seats as Ryan spoke. Maria felt a slight tension in the air, but she continued with her tasks, keeping her focus on serving the other customers efficiently. At that moment, the cafe door opened again, and Alex walked in. He had removed his helmet and hung his jacket on the coat stand. His presence was calm yet commanding, and people noticed immediately. Alex had heard that Ryan was back and wanted to make sure that no one, especially Maria, would be humiliated again. Alex walked slowly toward the counter, keeping his eyes on Ryan. Ryan noticed him and laughed arrogantly. "Oh, it's you again. Do you come here every day to spy on me?" Alex smiled slightly but did not reply with anger. "I come here to make sure people are treated with respect," he said calmly. "Yesterday, you spoke to Maria in a way that was not right. Today, I am here to remind you of the same thing." Ryan's smirk faltered for a moment, but he quickly recovered. "And what if I do not care about respect? I pay for my food, so I get to say what I want," he said, his voice loud enough for the entire cafe to hear. Alex did not raise his voice. He looked at Ryan with steady eyes and said, "Money does not give anyone the right to hurt others. If you cannot act with kindness, then maybe you should leave." The cafe grew quiet. Even some of Ryan's friends looked uneasy, sensing the seriousness in Alex's tone. Maria felt a wave of relief wash over her. Alex's calm confidence made her feel safe, and she realized that she was not alone in standing up against Ryan's arrogance. Ryan took a step back, unsure how to respond. He had never been challenged like this before, especially by someone who did not fear him. He glanced around and saw the other customers watching him. Some shook their heads, while others whispered quietly. He realized that his usual charm and wealth were not going to impress anyone today. Maria approached Ryan with the tray of his order. She set it carefully on the table and said politely, "Here is your coffee and sandwich. I hope you enjoy it." Ryan looked at the food, expecting to find a mistake. When he saw that everything was perfect, he could not help but feel a small sense of frustration. He wanted to find fault, but there was none. Maria had done her job well, and her calm demeanor made him feel powerless. Alex stayed near the counter, watching silently. He did not need to speak to make his presence felt. Ryan could feel the weight of the lesson he was being given without words. Alex's quiet confidence was enough to show that respect and kindness mattered more than wealth or arrogance. After finishing his meal, Ryan left the cafe without causing any further trouble. Maria watched him leave, feeling a mix of relief and pride. She had faced him again, and this time, the outcome was even clearer. Ryan's behavior could not control her happiness or self-respect. Later that afternoon, Maria noticed a young boy sitting alone at one of the tables. He looked nervous and shy. Maria approached him and smiled. "Hello, would you like some lemonade or a snack?" she asked gently. The boy nodded, and Maria quickly brought him a glass of lemonade and a small sandwich. As she handed it to him, she realized how important kindness was. Small gestures could make someone's day better, and she felt grateful that she could help. Alex returned briefly to check on Maria. "You handled everything very well today," he said quietly. "It is not easy to stay calm when someone is trying to humiliate you." Maria smiled, feeling encouraged. "Thank you. I learned from yesterday. I realized that staying calm and doing my best is more important than reacting to someone else's anger." Alex nodded. "Exactly. People who are cruel will always find ways to show it, but they cannot control your strength or your dignity. Remember that." The day continued, and the cafe was filled with the usual bustle. Maria moved efficiently between tables, carrying trays and serving customers with her warm smile. She felt a quiet confidence that had not been there before. She knew that she could face challenges without losing her composure. As the afternoon passed, Maria noticed that several customers were leaving compliments for her. They mentioned how polite she was and how well she handled difficult situations. Maria felt proud, not just because of the praise, but because she knew she had grown stronger. Meanwhile, Alex rode his motorcycle around town, keeping an eye on the streets and making sure that people were safe. He knew that his role was not just about appearance or reputation. He had a responsibility to protect those who could not defend themselves, and he took it seriously. That evening, Maria returned home, tired but happy. She cooked dinner for Daniel, and they shared stories about their day. Maria felt a sense of accomplishment. She had faced humiliation, remained calm, and even earned respect from the customers around her. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she could face them with courage and kindness. As she prepared for bed, Maria thought about the events of the day. She realized that true strength came not from anger or wealth, but from calmness, dignity, and the ability to stand up for oneself. She smiled quietly to herself, knowing that she had learned an important lesson about respect, courage, and the power of kindness. The next morning, Maria woke up feeling a mixture of anticipation and worry. She had learned to expect anything from Ryan, and she knew that his arrogance might bring trouble again. Daniel was already awake, finishing his breakfast, and he smiled at Maria. "Do not worry about the cafe today. You will handle it," he said kindly. Maria smiled back, feeling encouraged by her brother's faith in her. The streets of Greenfield were quiet in the early morning, with the sunlight creating patterns on the pavement. Maria walked to Sunrise Cafe, carrying her apron and notepad. She noticed familiar faces nodding to her, some of them customers from the previous day. Their smiles reminded her that respect and kindness could be stronger than arrogance. The cafe was busy when she arrived. Tables were filled with people enjoying breakfast, and the aroma of coffee and freshly baked bread filled the air. Maria greeted the morning staff and began moving between tables, taking orders and serving food with her usual warmth and efficiency. Suddenly, the door opened, and Maria felt a shiver of unease. Ryan entered the cafe once again, wearing another new suit and carrying an expensive briefcase. Tom followed behind him, laughing as usual. Ryan scanned the room and immediately spotted Maria. He smirked and walked toward her, making a show of his presence so that everyone could see him. "Good morning, girl," Ryan said loudly, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I hope you remember me from yesterday. I want my coffee to be perfect and my sandwich the biggest one you have." Maria took a deep breath and smiled politely. "Good morning, sir. I will make sure your order is ready quickly." She held her notepad firmly, refusing to let his words affect her. As she turned to give the order to the chef, Maria noticed Alex walking into the cafe. He had heard that Ryan had returned and wanted to make sure everything went smoothly. His calm presence immediately changed the atmosphere. People who had been tense felt a sense of reassurance. Alex approached the counter slowly, keeping his eyes on Ryan. "Good morning," he said, his voice steady. "I see that you are back. I hope you are ready to behave properly today." Ryan laughed loudly, trying to show that he was not intimidated. "Behave properly? I pay for my food, so I can say whatever I want." Who are you to tell me what to do? Alex did not respond with anger. He only looked at Ryan calmly and said, "Respect does not come from money. Everyone deserves to be treated kindly. I suggest you choose your words carefully." Ryan's smirk faltered slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. He sat at a table near the counter and waited for Maria's order. Maria carried the tray carefully, setting the coffee and sandwich in front of him. She spoke politely, "Here is your order, sir. I hope it meets your expectations." Ryan picked up his fork and looked at the sandwich, expecting to find a flaw. When he saw that everything was perfect, he frowned slightly. He was not used to receiving good service without finding something to complain about. Alex stood nearby, keeping a watchful eye. He did not interfere unless necessary, but his presence reminded Ryan that arrogance could not dominate the room. Maria returned to serving other customers, feeling a quiet sense of pride. She had handled the situation calmly, and her professionalism had prevented any further humiliation. While Maria worked, she noticed that several customers were observing Ryan. Some whispered to each other, clearly annoyed by his behavior. Others nodded at Maria and Alex, showing their support. Maria realized that standing up to arrogance did not require anger. Calmness, dignity, and kindness were powerful tools. Ryan finished his coffee and sandwich more quickly than usual. He looked around the cafe, noticing the disapproving stares of the customers. For the first time, he realized that wealth and appearance did not guarantee respect. He felt a strange sense of frustration, mixed with a hint of humility. After leaving the cafe, Ryan paused at the door, unsure of what to say. Alex approached him calmly. "Remember, respect is earned through kindness, not money," Alex said quietly. "Think about your actions and how they affect others." Ryan hesitated, then nodded slightly. He did not speak, but the gesture showed a small change in his attitude. Maria watched from the counter, feeling relieved and encouraged. She had faced another challenge and handled it with grace. Later in the day, a small event happened that reminded Maria of the importance of kindness. A lost dog wandered into the cafe, looking scared and hungry. Maria approached the dog slowly and offered some leftover bread and water. The dog wagged its tail and began eating, trusting Maria instantly. Customers smiled at the scene, and Maria felt a warm glow of happiness. Alex returned to the cafe later in the afternoon. He had been riding around town, checking on people who might need help. He looked at Maria and said, "You handled yourself very well today. People notice when someone stays calm under pressure. You showed courage without needing to raise your voice." Maria smiled and replied, "Thank you, Alex. I realized that reacting with anger does not solve problems. Staying calm and doing my best is the right way to handle challenges." Alex nodded in agreement. "Exactly. You cannot control the behavior of others, but you can control how you respond. That is true strength." The cafe continued to fill with the usual afternoon crowd. Maria moved efficiently, serving coffee and sandwiches, and chatting kindly with the customers. She noticed that some of the regulars had come back after hearing about her courage the previous days. They were curious to see how she handled herself under pressure. Maria felt proud that she had earned their respect not just for her service but for her dignity and calmness. As the day went on, Maria thought about her future. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she felt ready to face them. She remembered Alex's words about strength and respect. She realized that being kind and professional was not just about work. It was about how she carried herself in every situation. When the cafe finally closed, Maria and the staff began cleaning up. She felt tired but satisfied. She knew that she had grown stronger over the past few days. She had faced Ryan's arrogance, stayed calm, and maintained her dignity. She had also learned that support could come from unexpected places. Alex's presence had reminded her that standing up for what is right sometimes required someone to take a quiet but firm stand. Later that evening, Maria returned home. Daniel greeted her with a smile and asked about her day. Maria shared the events at the cafe, explaining how she had handled Ryan and how Alex had helped her feel confident. Daniel listened carefully and nodded, showing admiration for his sister's courage. Before going to bed, Maria reflected on everything that had happened. She realized that life was full of challenges, but true strength came from calmness, dignity, and kindness. She knew that there would be more difficult days, but she felt ready. She understood that respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned through actions, words, and the way one treated others. Maria smiled quietly to herself. She felt proud of how she had faced humiliation, stayed professional, and earned the respect of her customers and colleagues. She also felt grateful for Alex, who had shown her that sometimes support and courage could come from unexpected people. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was confident that she could face them with strength and dignity. As she drifted to sleep, Maria felt a sense of peace. She had learned valuable lessons about courage, respect, and the power of kindness. She knew that life would continue to test her, but she also knew that she had the ability to handle any challenge with grace. The next day, Maria woke up feeling a mixture of determination and nervousness. She had faced Ryan twice now, and each time she had grown stronger. She prepared breakfast for Daniel, who was already at the table eating his cereal. "You look ready for the day," he said with a smile. Maria returned the smile, feeling a quiet confidence. She knew that working at Sunrise Cafe would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them. When Maria arrived at the cafe, the morning was already bright and lively. Customers chatted at tables, laughing and enjoying their coffee. Maria greeted the staff and began moving quickly between tables, taking orders and serving food with her usual energy and kindness. She felt the rhythm of the cafe flow around her, and for a moment, she felt completely at ease. But the sense of calm did not last long. The door opened suddenly, and Ryan entered again, carrying a new suit and a slightly different expression. He was still arrogant, but there was something in his eyes that hinted at curiosity, or perhaps annoyance at how things had gone the previous days. Tom followed behind him, laughing nervously, sensing that Ryan might be uneasy. Ryan walked toward the counter, and Maria noticed his eyes scanning the room. He finally spoke loudly, as if trying to regain control. "I hope this time, the coffee is perfect. I do not want to wait, and I do not want any mistakes." Maria nodded politely. "Good morning, sir. I will make sure your order is ready promptly," she said calmly. She wrote down his order and gave it to the chef, keeping her focus on her work. While Maria moved between tables, Alex walked into the cafe. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere. Customers felt safer, and Maria felt reassured. Alex had heard that Ryan had returned, and he wanted to make sure the situation did not escalate. He approached the counter slowly, keeping his eyes on Ryan. "Good morning, Ryan," Alex said calmly. "I see you are back. I hope you are ready to act with respect today." Ryan laughed, trying to appear confident. "Respect? I pay for my food, so I can speak as I like. Who are you to tell me what to do?" Alex did not answer with anger. He simply looked at Ryan calmly and said, "Money does not give anyone the right to hurt others. You can choose to act with kindness, or you can leave. The choice is yours." Ryan hesitated, feeling the weight of Alex's calm authority. He glanced around the cafe and saw the customers watching him. Some were frowning, while others whispered quietly to each other. For the first time, Ryan realized that arrogance and wealth did not impress everyone. Maria prepared the tray for Ryan's order and carried it carefully to his table. She set the coffee and sandwich down politely. "Here is your order, sir. I hope you enjoy it," she said calmly. Ryan picked up his fork and examined the food, expecting to find a flaw. When he realized everything was perfect, he frowned slightly. He was not used to receiving good service without something to complain about. Maria returned to serving other customers, moving with quiet confidence. While Maria worked, she noticed a young woman struggling to carry a tray with drinks and pastries. Without hesitation, Maria went over and helped her, smiling as she took the tray. The woman thanked her, saying, "You are very kind. Not many people would do that." Maria felt a warm glow of happiness. Helping others reminded her why kindness mattered, even when dealing with people like Ryan. Alex stayed near the counter, watching silently. He did not need to speak to make his presence felt. Ryan could feel the weight of the lesson he was being given without words. Maria returned to her work, feeling proud of how she had remained calm and professional despite the tension. Later in the morning, a small crowd began forming outside the cafe. Rumors had spread about Ryan's behavior and how Maria had faced him with courage. People wanted to see if the story was true. Maria noticed their curious eyes, but she focused on her work. She knew that attention was not always easy to handle, but staying calm and kind was more important than worrying about what others thought. Ryan finished his coffee and sandwich more quickly than usual. He looked around and noticed the disapproving stares of the customers and the quiet respect that Maria and Alex commanded. For the first time, he felt small. Money and arrogance could not protect him here. He realized that he had been given an important lesson in humility and respect. As Ryan stood to leave, Alex approached him again. "Remember," he said quietly, "respect and kindness are more important than wealth or appearances. Treat people well, and you will gain more than money can ever buy." Ryan nodded slightly. He did not speak, but the gesture showed a hint of understanding. Maria felt relieved that the situation had ended without anger or conflict. She had faced the challenge calmly and professionally, earning the respect of the customers and even influencing Ryan's attitude in a small way. The rest of the day passed smoothly. Maria served coffee and food, helping customers and maintaining her cheerful energy. Several regulars came in to compliment her, saying how impressive it was to see someone handle a difficult situation with such dignity. Maria felt proud, not just because of the praise but because she had remained true to her values. Later in the afternoon, Maria helped a lost child find his mother. The little boy had wandered into the cafe and looked frightened. Maria held his hand and spoke gently, calming him down. The mother arrived shortly after, thanking Maria warmly. Moments like these reminded Maria why kindness and patience were always worth practicing. Alex returned to the cafe later that day. He smiled at Maria and said, "You handled today very well. People notice when someone stays calm and professional under pressure. You showed courage without needing to raise your voice." Maria smiled back, feeling encouraged. "Thank you, Alex. I realized that staying calm and doing my best is the right way to handle challenges. Reacting with anger only makes things worse." Alex nodded. "Exactly. True strength comes from knowing how to respond, not from reacting. Remember that when difficult situations arise again." The cafe continued to fill with people enjoying their afternoon coffee. Maria moved efficiently between tables, serving customers and sharing smiles. She noticed that some of the regulars had returned, curious to see how she handled herself under pressure. They were impressed by her professionalism and calm demeanor. As the day drew to a close, Maria reflected on everything that had happened. She realized that challenges like Ryan's behavior were opportunities to grow stronger. Staying calm, being kind, and maintaining dignity were the best ways to face difficult situations. She also understood the importance of having support from others. Alex's presence had given her the courage to remain confident and professional. When Maria returned home that evening, Daniel greeted her with a smile. "You look tired but happy," he said. Maria nodded. "It was a good day. I learned more about courage, patience, and kindness." Before going to bed, Maria thought about the lessons she had learned. She realized that respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned through actions, words, and how one treated others. She also knew that facing challenges calmly and with dignity was a skill that would serve her for a lifetime. Maria drifted to sleep with a sense of peace and quiet confidence. She had faced humiliation, stayed professional, helped others, and earned respect. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she had the ability to handle them with strength and kindness. The next morning, Maria felt a sense of determination as she prepared for her day at Sunrise Cafe. She had faced Ryan several times now, and each encounter had strengthened her confidence. Daniel noticed her calm expression as he ate breakfast. "You are ready for anything today," he said. Maria smiled, feeling reassured by her brother's faith in her. When she arrived at the cafe, the morning crowd had already started to gather. The smell of fresh pastries and coffee filled the air. Maria greeted the staff warmly and began her work, moving efficiently between tables, taking orders, and serving food. Her focus was on giving each customer the best service she could, and her calm energy made the cafe feel welcoming and cheerful. Maria noticed the door open, and her heart skipped a beat. Ryan had returned, and this time, he walked in more quietly than before. Tom followed behind him, looking slightly nervous. Ryan's expression was different from the previous days. There was less arrogance and more uncertainty in his eyes. He scanned the cafe and spotted Maria at the counter. Maria took a deep breath and smiled politely. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Ryan hesitated before speaking. "I want coffee and a sandwich." "Make sure it is good," he said quietly. His voice lacked the loud confidence he had shown before. Maria nodded and wrote down the order, giving it to the chef. She felt a small sense of relief that Ryan seemed less aggressive. As Maria worked, Alex walked into the cafe. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere. People felt safer and more comfortable. Alex had been keeping an eye on the situation because he knew that Ryan's attitude could still cause trouble. He approached the counter calmly, watching Ryan with steady eyes. "Good morning, Ryan," Alex said in his calm, firm voice. "I hope today will be a day of respect and kindness." Ryan looked at Alex and then at Maria. For the first time, he seemed thoughtful. I understand," he said quietly. "I did not realize before how my words could hurt people." Maria felt a sense of surprise and hope. She had never expected Ryan to speak in such a humble tone. She realized that sometimes, people needed time and guidance to understand the value of respect. The chef called out that Ryan's order was ready. Maria carefully carried the tray to his table, placing the coffee and sandwich down with a smile. "Here is your order, sir. I hope you enjoy it," she said politely. Ryan looked at the food, then at Maria, and nodded. "Thank you," he said softly. He took a bite of the sandwich and sipped the coffee. He looked thoughtful, as if he were reflecting on the lessons of the past days. Alex stood nearby, watching the interaction. He did not need to intervene. The quiet change in Ryan's behavior spoke louder than words. Maria felt a sense of satisfaction. She had handled difficult situations with patience and dignity, and it seemed to be making a real difference. Later in the morning, a small incident reminded everyone why kindness and courage were important. A woman at a nearby table accidentally spilled her coffee. She looked embarrassed and upset. Maria quickly approached her, offering a clean napkin and a warm smile. "It's okay. Accidents happen. Let me help you with that," Maria said kindly. The woman smiled gratefully. "Thank you. You are very kind," she said. Maria felt happy knowing that small gestures could make a difference in people's lives. Meanwhile, Ryan finished his meal quietly. He did not try to show off or make anyone feel small. He left some extra money on the table and stood to go. Before leaving, he looked at Maria and said, "I am sorry for how I treated you before. I did not realize how wrong I was." Maria felt her heart lift. She smiled warmly and said, "Thank you. Everyone can learn and grow. I appreciate your apology." Ryan nodded and walked out of the cafe with Tom following him quietly. The other customers noticed the exchange and whispered among themselves. They admired Maria's calm courage and the way she had handled Ryan with dignity. After the morning rush, Maria took a moment to breathe and reflect. She realized how much she had grown over the past few days. She had faced humiliation, stayed professional, helped others, and earned respect. She felt stronger and more confident than ever before. Alex returned to the cafe later in the day. He smiled at Maria and said, "You handled everything very well. You stayed calm, professional, and kind. People notice when someone does that. You showed courage without raising your voice. Maria smiled back, feeling encouraged. Thank you, Alex. I learned that staying calm and doing my best is more important than reacting with anger. Helping others and being kind matters more than anything else. Alex nodded. Exactly. True strength is knowing how to respond, not how to react. You have shown that today. The afternoon continued peacefully. Maria served coffee and sandwiches, helping customers and chatting with them kindly. Several regulars returned, curious to see how she handled herself under pressure. They were impressed by her professionalism, calm demeanor, and courage. Later, a little boy came into the cafe holding a small puppy. He looked nervous. Maria knelt down and smiled at him. Hello there. What happened? She asked gently. The boy explained that the puppy had wandered away from home, and he was worried. Maria helped the boy and the puppy, giving them water and a safe place to rest while he contacted his parents. The boy's eyes brightened, and he hugged Maria. Thank you for helping us, he said. Maria felt a warm glow of happiness, knowing that kindness could change someone's day. As the day drew to a close, Maria reflected on all that had happened. She realized that challenges like Ryan's behavior were opportunities to grow stronger. Staying calm, being kind, and maintaining dignity were the best ways to face difficult situations. She also understood the importance of support from others. Alex's presence had given her courage and confidence. When Maria returned home, Daniel greeted her with a smile. You look happy today, he said. Maria nodded. I learned a lot today. I faced challenges, stayed calm, and helped others. I also saw that people can change when they are treated with respect. Before going to bed, Maria thought about the lessons she had learned. She realized that respect could not be demanded. It had to be earned through actions, words, and how one treated others. She also knew that facing challenges calmly and with dignity was a skill that would serve her for a lifetime. Maria drifted to sleep with a sense of peace. She had faced humiliation, stayed professional, helped others, and earned respect. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she had the ability to handle them with strength and kindness. The next morning, Maria returned to the cafe with renewed energy. She knew that no matter what challenges came her way, she had the strength to face them. Customers greeted her warmly, and she moved between tables with a cheerful smile. She felt proud of how far she had come. Outside, Ryan was walking down the street. He had changed. His arrogance was gone, replaced by a quiet thoughtfulness. He had learned that respect and kindness were more important than wealth and appearances. He thought about the lessons he had learned from Maria and Alex. He realized that true strength came from being humble and treating others well. Maria continued her work at Sunrise Cafe, serving coffee and food, helping customers, and sharing smiles. She knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she could face them with courage, dignity, and kindness. And so, the cafe remained a place of warmth, laughter, and respect. Maria had grown stronger through her experiences. She had learned that true courage came from staying calm, helping others, and standing up for what was right. And she knew that no matter what happened in life, she would always carry that courage in her heart.